All right, thank you very much for coming out this morning on an early Saturday morning. And unfortunately, it's a little more cloudy, so I think Lessia will be presenting more inside than out. But just to give you a short introduction, Lessia Petriv is the senior interpreter at the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village. But Lessia is much, much more. Lessia is a folklorist. She's a fantastic baker of ritual breads. She is all around, I think, is a good resource for anything Ukrainian. So with further ado, I pass on our presentation to Lessia.
Good morning, everybody. Добрий день. Happy Saturday. You know what? Just when we put the big smile, we will have sunshine. So, you know, I am not kind of scientist or a professional gardener, but my passion about the gardens quite a bit. And I'm so glad that I brought my practice from Ukraine. And I'm thank you very much that, you know, to my Baba and Mama that I grew up, raised in a village, because village, this is the sort of surviving. There is no, in my area, when I live on the north side, you know, probably later there is no rain. I can go outside and show you when I start my garden. I will tell you the truth. I plant my above the ground plants, like even the cucumbers and the corn and fasolia, I plant just day before the snow on Monday. I came from work and at 5:30, changed my clothes, went to the garden and plant, and I transfer my tomato from the small container to the ground. And my sweatshirt, because I have north part when there is not much sun to get in the morning, and then later I will show you how to plant. So if we will be talking or you want to ask some questions, which really kind of common questions for you that bother you, or most of you, you know lots of that. It depends from the age if you have garden. But I hope that most of you have a gardens, right? And everybody lives in the city, yeah? So when we moved to the house, the first thing that we did, start to rip the grass. It's a Ukrainian habit and a passion. And I did kind of quite a lots of mistake because I want to plant everything in a small plot of garden. Oh boy, I want to plant, you know, and beans and peas, and I want to plant tomatoes and cucumbers, everything. So when we rip, and the flowers, I like flowers. The first of all, because I had loose flowers, somebody gave me like calendula and a sprinkle and bachelor buttons. It's Voloshki, remind me Ukraine, Ukraine, and then sprinkle. This is the very big mistake. So because it was beautiful. It's like pictures you can make. I have these pictures, but not printed yet. But I didn't have very big crop. So this is probably, you know, that I learned from my mistake in a few years, because I didn't want to rip my beautiful flowers like calendula. Calendula is growing all over the place. And bachelor buttons, they grow all over. But they kind of, you know, everybody fighting for the space under the sun. I have very little crop, but I enjoy the beauty of the garden because I want to, wow, try everything, but better to have a chance of kind of having successful garden that we focus just on a few varieties. So, and the same problem I have like 2 years later, because I said, that's it. I will organize myself and then plant very close to each other. You know what that means? In a small plot, that, I plant not even 1.5 foot apart, but plant half foot apart. And it's kind of not good idea, because everything likes to have kind of elbow room. It was another mistake. It was very small crops of carrots. Carrots were small, beets were small, close to tomato. It was so hard to get into kind of tomatoes. But the tomato who grow around the house, you probably know because you're growing, it was big. And so with the watering, because if the person at home can set up the time and water at the same time, because plants like to be watered at the same time. But when I plant everything together, some plants like to be watered, not much, not every day, some of them every day, like tomato. But I plant, whatever I have time. Before going to work and after coming from work, just plant it. And this is as well, probably, the big mistake. But I kind of learn from heart, from my own mistake. I learned never do like this, put this separate. And it's good that I know somewhere, because like my grandma, she couldn't write or read, but at home we always mention, go and pull it out that weed, or don't plant close to each other above the companionship, because companion gardens, it's like good friends that we have, right? We have friends that said, oh, you're so good, we have the same idea, we can share, we can help each other. But some people, we kind of like it, but I said, okay, I can say hello, добрый день, but just I will keep away from you. The same with the plants. The success of the garden, the success of the crops, of the vegetables, it's a companion plant. And another thing I will tell you, actually, I will show you the gardens that what's left after the snow. My tomatoes survived, but I cover with the plastic containers. Each tomato plant I've covered, even we have heavy snow. My Swiss chard was uncovered, and I was so really worried, because like I start everything from seeds in my laundry room, and then my husband put the kind of daylight, and it was kind of taking care of the many babies, because I start everything in the basement. And then I was so kind of almost with the tears that, just the leaves were up in a few days and they survived. It's really hard, because it's a kind of hard transition from them, from the basement, go to the garden in a plant. And the seeds, like, for example, I said, oh my, what's happened with my cucumber seeds? Broad beans, I didn't really worry, but about the cucumbers and the beans, no, peas as well, kind of so. But I will show you in a garden what is growing. So, talking about the garden, if we can have that, you can have a question to ask, or I can talk, kind of in an old-fashioned way, how we grow, because I grow in the city. I have 2 gardens. We actually ripped the whole yard, and we have 2 gardens that I grow root vegetables in one garden, above the ground plants in another garden, and I will show you my garlic. But I hope that everybody had, the garlic, it was planted in the fall. And if you have questions, it's better to ask from the questions that we can talk, because some people, you don't know what the people want. Some of them, if you have garden, it's most of you is expertise, right? So if you have questions more about the companion plant or where to grow, and we can ask, and kind of probably we put on the screens, or just have a voice that you can ask questions. So what is your kind of suggestions?
Well, I'm interested in companion plants.
Oh, very good.
And also how to harvest seeds for the next year.
So the companion plant. Because I prepare sheets for you, but I give you an example. Why is so important companion plant? Even I plant my plants quite close. I still plant not very far because, like, each foot of the soil, I really kind of treasure for me. I want to have this one and this one on a small garden. Yesterday, I just finished my own carrots from the, and we use lots of carrots. I just probably almost close to the end of May. And I didn't put in a sandbox. So, and even because I use kind of know in my head of the companion plants and did a lots of research. And I'm so glad that my friend, she retired, she's from Switzerland. She gave me the book. It's really very old book that's written. I will show you the cover of that book. It's written by the one American lady. Actually, she's a German. She's a professor. She has 2 PhD. One PhD she has in astrology, another PhD in agriculture she has. And this is book so easy for me to read in English. And my friends, before she go retirement, because she's much older, I said, Leslie, I will give you, because like nobody could probably appreciate like you. And when I opened that book, we have lots of shrubs on my yard. We have, we have almost no place to put the swing because of the bushes and shrubs. For this time, for 15 years, we just lost 2 trees. We lost the sour cherry trees. Actually, 2 sour cherry trees we lost. And 2 sour cherry trees we lost, that's it. And it was very, very old Japanese cherry. So otherwise, everything is growing because following by the astrology calendar and companion plants. The companion plants is so important because when they grow together, they improve each other kind of health and crops. Like companion plants, why we plant the companion plants together? Because it's a kind of certain combination that to make the plant for each other much more productive, right? Because some companion plants, they help the others. Like, for example, when you have good friends and you're so kind of weak, and good friends always come to you and help and put the shoulder. The same with the companion plants. And I will give you an example. Like everybody knows that about, they call the 3 sisters. I plant my corn and like pole beans. And we always plant at home cucumbers close to the corn, in between the corns. But at home in Ukraine, we have wide rows of corns and plant in between because cucumbers likes a little bit shade, right? Here, I plant my pole beans because instead of putting stick, even I put the sticks, they go and wrap, corn, give the support to, to beans growth, crawling up. And the cucumbers or squash, they like shade, they provide the shade. And I will give you another example, carrots and dill. I remember my Baba mentioned, never plant, never like seeds, because we never seeded the dill growing by itself, especially when I will tell you the best time to seed the dill, to collect the seeds. Pull it out. Why the carrot and dill do not like, really they dislike each other. They will grow, carrot will grow, dill will grow. But if you try to grow from your experience, you will see when you pull it out the carrots, when carrots mature, and carrots will be kind of woody. Probably some of you probably have eaten some carrots, like you try to kind of piece of food, you try to eat, it's not a crunchy, but a wood. So because they are competing, and especially the roots, they fight for the life, for the roof, from the room in the ground. Why they don't like it, it really will help you. And as well, some of them, companion plants, some really give you the nutrients. Yes, Lala.
I just have a question. We have a folklore saying, "Nemishai horoks kupustою." don't mix your peas with your cabbage. Now,
Yes.
can you tell me, because I heard, and can you tell me if it's true, that actually in your garden, you should not put your peas with your cabbage?
They don't like each other. Cabbage will grow very good too. Cabbage will grow, you will have the cabbage will grow really very good with the close to potato. Yeah, cabbage grow close to onion. You see, when you have this one, because I will tell you why. Because cabbage will grow very good with the aromatic plants. I have mint sprang all over, the place. And I try to dig it out, but they like the smell and protection because this companion plant is really will deter the different kind of bugs, will kind of deterrent work, and the same, they will give the benefits like marigolds. You know what, last year I tried, I was shocked what happened to last year. I actually don't like to plant the cabbage because I have small garden. I want to have everything. But I learned from 2 years in a row with my, that I plant everything together. So last year, because I like marigolds, I have marigolds. It's, I have to start this year, the spring was very cold. So, and I plant seeds. My seed is not growing yet from marigolds, but I plant some plants. It's very nice that we plant the plants in April or first days in May, marigolds. It's a sitting and sprouted. So anyway, go back to the cabbage. I plant the cabbage, 22 cabbage in the small rows. And then beside the cabbage, probably I seeded the marigolds. When I seeded marigolds, the cabbage grew faster than marigolds. And my cabbage started to form in the head. They're so beautiful. I watched, and you see that, these butterfly, these caterpillars, setting the nest. So when we setting the nest, I always have the ashes. Like we always in Ukraine, we prepare the ashes, we put under the leaves the ashes, and put when the cabbage leaves become to form much bigger, put on the leaves. So, and the marigolds with the both sides, but cabbage grew faster. And one time I just look at my cabbage, and my cabbage kind of was some kind of wilted, not enough water. And another day came from work, and 3 or 4 cabbages were like this laying on the ground. I was shocked. And another day, the whole row of cabbage, it's a caterpillar, it's a worm. It's a probably kind of underground worm, cut my roots, somebody like slash under the ground. So the problem is that when the marigold will be growing faster, the marigold will protect cabbage from the caterpillar. Yes.
Okay, Valerie has a question. Do you plant the same vegetables in the same spots from year to year, or is it better to change plants around?
I move little bit plants, from next year, but at the same time, because I try to save lots of compost. For example, I plant my tomato at the same spot, but I always feed it with the compost. Even whatever I do, the one pail of the dry horse poop, or my lady bring me from the farm dry cow's poop, or the fresh, well, I don't want to have fresh, but the pails I put in a garden in a fall. You can plant the same spot, but always give the nutrients. You have to be very careful because like for example, you can have lots of nutrients, but still not have tomato. It's can growing, but not a good crop. It's lacking of something that you can put the manure, but probably lacking another like magnesium or iron or something else. So it could be added. Like, I will tell you one thing. When the people, just simple example, when we have some preparing meat, right? Or chicken or fish, it's nice to have in a separate dish to wash the fish. Don't throw that water in a sink. Use this water to water the vegetables, especially meat, because it's still blood in the meat, and blood has iron. And all the vegetables, even the raspberry plants. And last year, You can mix, if you can get the blood, mix it with the water and feed them, not often, at least once. They really like it. Whatever you have washed from the meat or fish, never throw it away. Just throw it to the plants, throw under the bush and under your whatever plants, doesn't matter. And as well, very benefit, it's ashes as well. When we have dry ashes, especially I like to put, around the onion. Even I plant my potato. You know what we did at home in Ukraine to protect potato? Even sometimes in the root cellar, we have potato a little bit moldy. We would pull it out potato in the sacks. We have tons of ashes. We kind of taking potato bathing in the ashes and then plant in the garden. It's really big benefits for the ashes. If you have fire pit and never throw the ashes, either sprinkle a little bit around the plants, not much, or mix with the water, let it stand. Next day, kind of, it has to be probably, I don't know. You see, I never measure, but from 1 liter, probably gallon of 4 gallon of the ashes on a 10 50 like big pails of water, like Home Depot pails, that big one, right? It's how many gallons it has? Probably 4, 5, 15 gallons.
Yeah,
It's a big
5.
mix and just water.
five. Yeah. Darka mentioned five gallons. Darka.
The
Yeah.
Home Depot pails, they're very big. I always use these big pails and take kind of the ice cream pail of the ashes, mix with the water, let it stand, mix again, and then 1 liter. It depends how many bushes. The big bushes, 1 liter around the bush. But when the kind of cucumbers or tomato a little bit dry, first water with the clean water. And we suggest never water with this water under the water tap because it's a hard water with chlorine. I have the whole row of the water sitting on the patio. Water this one, and then water with the ashes, little bit of the fresh water with nothing, and then water with the ashes, water around the plants. And I will, the ashes really help to grow. And as well, what I do, my husband doesn't like it. I said, again, be very careful because I left for a long time. It was very stinky. Cut the grass. I don't throw that grass. Even you have a chance to go to the forestry area, to the bushes, to the mountains. If you have the bags of safety bag of the grass, bring it home, soak it in the water, let it stand no less than 24 hours. The water absorbs all these vitamins and minerals from these plants. And then don't live longer. I left very long because I was busy in the village and came home and lots of to do something. It was very stinky, but anyway, I watered, but it was very very concentrate. You have to dilute it with water. So when you plant as well, you water these bushes and plant with a fermented grass, 24 hours, 48 hours, no more. And then take one as well, take the gallon of this concentrating liquid and water with this kind of 15 gallons of the water or 10 liter of water and water this plant as well. You can produce this twice a month, not more, because we have to exchange. When you do this one additional feeding, you can plant the same vegetables at the same place, like, cucumbers or the corn. I plant because I don't have too much space to move at the same time. I will show you for the southeast garden. I plant everything above the garden and kind of southwest, a little bit to the north. I plant kind of fruit vegetables and the flowers growing so well. The good benefits is as well, I have beside the ashes, yeast with water. Okay, what we did at home, because almost every week I bake pirishke. I still want to get rid of the sour cherry, bake pirishke with the sour cherry and rose petals, they're so tasty. Well, anyway, and then when we wash the bowl that I mix the dough, throw on the garden, throw under the plants, because still have yeast. But because we have in Canada access to the yeast, to everything, so you can take 1-2 tablespoons of the yeast, or for example, 100 grams for the big pails, dissolved with the very nice warm water. And I always have warm water sitting on the sun. It's so important to have water sitting on the sun because it absorbs the heavenly energy when you don't have rainwater. Rainwater has much more benefits, from the heaven than tap water. You know that because it's a nice, soft, and has all the elements that we needed. It's not like chlorine, because chlorine is purified and kill the most beneficial these elements that we need for the water. So, and dissolve the yeast. If you want to just add a tablespoon of sugar, actually in this book, that lady, Professor, this suggests dissolve sugar in the water and yeast, let it stand, and the cucumbers to produce your crops with the cucumbers, and then water probably twice a month. And so just water, it's supposed to be increase your cucumbers. Beside that, because you can change. Sometimes you can use the yeast and sugar and water to water this one. And next month you can use the grass and water this one. And as well, I like to put in my flowers to have the bright color. Now they are start to bloom. Baking soda, I always buy kind of 2 big packages of baking soda from Costco, to have plenty of them. And even the sprinkle, the baking soda around the garden, or even to sprinkle with the water and sprinkle a little bit the plants. Actually, it's keep the specific bugs away from the plants.
Do you work the baking soda on the soil or just on top?
You can put on the soil. That's right, yeah, on the soil. And you know what I do with the cabbage? I take the baking soda and mix with the flour half and half and sprinkle around the cabbage. I have this cutworm because they were under the ground. It's a different, it's not like these caterpillars. And so this really helps. So I at least have from the 22 cabbage, I have probably between 7, 8 cabbages. And the cabbage from home tastes absolutely different. I learned my mistakes that I have to plant marigolds much earlier, because when they bloom and close to the cabbage, and they kind of deter, these caterpillars from the cabbage. Mint as well, some herb deter really, but you don't want to have too much mint because it's overgrowing, on the garden, that really keep the caterpillars away. So I can take you a little bit on the garden, and we can, talk about the garden and the plants. And I want to show you as well from the garden how, because okay, I will take my glasses off. Okay, see you, I will show you. I start my seeds. Everything I start my seeds. If you are starting your seeds in the house, I will give you some kind of tips how I start my seed. I never had the problem with tomatoes. Some of my friends, when they have tomato, I have to switch the camera. Where should switch the camera? This is probably a small picture of the marigolds. You see my tomatoes. This is after the snow. I plant them very deep. They were very in small containers. The roots wrapped around the containers. And can you see them?
Yes.
So they are big, growing quite big, and then covered with the plastic containers. The leaves yellow on the bottom, and sometimes when you see yellow leaves on the bottom, you know why? Because when you transfer from your, I transferred from the basement, and they were lacking of their natural light. This is actually broken, but I tied to the kind of little stick, and it's growing. Even there was broken a stem, that's good at growing. So, and some of them start to bloom. So when I tied them and covered, and they survived, and then I will show you my Swiss chard. It was baby, and snow hit them. I have, the Swiss chard. Why I'm showing you this, my Swiss chard? Because this place that I have Swiss chard, and then I have kale. Here, lots of kale. We use lots of kale chips. So because it's a little bit shady area, not much sun from the fence, from the neighbor, if we have the whites. So, but some of the Norse plant, when you don't have too much light, the kale and the salad, but not the seeds, the little plants put, and then it will grow so beautiful that no waste of place. So, and you see my cucumbers grow. I grow cucumbers from the seeds. You see some of them growing, I just see them. And it was planted on May 18, before in the evening, late in the evening, I was so soaked. And you see it's coming and growing so fast. Cucumber like beets, like companion plants. And my peas is actually peas for the beets. So very close. You see, this is the fence. This is the peas, and this right away close to radish. I put the radish very close because radish growing much faster than peas. And I'm saving some space, and then radish grow, pull it out, and the peas will grow so fast. And it's very close to the radish. I plant my salad. I seeded my salad. I don't have tons of salad I can share with the neighbors. You probably see this salad. I throw the seeds actually a few hours before the snow. So it's growing, excuse me, like crazy. Some I plant different type of cucumbers. Some of them type cucumbers from Ukraine start to kind of, growing. I never plant the English cucumbers. I plant the pickles cucumbers. It's called early pioneers cucumbers, or Russian or national picking. This is only the cucumbers that I grow. My friends, your mom, brought from Ukraine 2 years ago some cucumber seeds, and I plant them as well. I will show you. And this is broad beans. I love broad beans, close to cucumbers. These broad beans and the same plot for a few years, but I always feed it up the soil because I learned hard lesson. When I not feed it, will be very hard, the soil. And this is different cucumbers, and this is cucumbers from Ukraine, much bigger and faster growing. But I would like to enjoy different variety of cucumbers because I want to eat them now in the summertime, a little bit close to the fall. So I thought the hail, the heavy rain, destroying my corn. The corn, it's nice to be plant not one row, 2, 3 rows of corn because like to pollinate each other. Otherwise, the single rows is not a good idea. And plant 3, 4 of them. And my other little tiny corn from the seeds that I planted probably 2, 3 weeks ago, it's start to grow, hallelujah. And my pole beans from Ukraine. What's happened when I moved them from the basement, it's very nice pole beans from Ukraine, the big white one, like llama beans, but it's a different, but the wind kind of lots of destroy them. And I plant other one that will grow corn, these pole beans and the cucumbers will grow together. So this is the garden that face a little bit from the east and south. Why I always plant above the ground vegetables? Because above the ground plants, they grow much faster. They need right away light. And then when I'll go back, we're just redoing our yard completely, the front yard. Okay, just hole and soil. This is my, I have kind of bit of sour cherry trees and bushes, different types of variety, my whole yard like orchard. And they are so beautiful. You see, it's so important. I will tell you, when the full moon, first day of the full moon, I always insist, Roman, my husband said, go and touch and talk to them. They will produce, they will remember you. Look at the curly my dub kucheryavi. So it's a sour cherry tree. So yeah, this is the garlic. I plant garlic. In a garlic, I switch some of this on the end of the road, this side, another on this right. Marigolds there. Close to potato, but I will plant the marigolds has to be more close to potato because the marigolds protect potato from the bugs that we call in Ukraine koloradske žuki. And as well, this is another patch of the garden and spinach. And actually, it takes 3 weeks to grow. My spinach is finally will be starting to growing. And after this rain, because it was very wet, it started to grow, much faster. So vegetables is not growing. You know why? Because I planted very late. We still redo our the garden, but I'm not worried because, like, you know, the good soil, good nutrients, and the carrots. When a little bit start later, if I will start on even the cold soil, it will be growing kind of faster. And I plant the flax for Diduche I have, and this cherry tree we kind of lost, no trees. So this space it will be, again, I will seed the flax, much more flax because I need more flax for Diduche. No place to plant the wheat. So this is the problem. So I have huge flower bed, but I not only use everything for flower, I will be putting here and there some, for example, like I have some planted tomato left, a few bushes. I start my zinnia. So I will put some vegetables, you know, between the flower that we can use it. If you have, for example, I transplant my raspberry plant from one side because they take over, you know, on the southeast, and then plant close, like, you know, on the other side when I show you southwest and a little bit to the north. And I had kind of, it's a beautiful bushes, but not much, they have not much kind of berries. So, and then I said, it's something nutrients. Even I put some manure, doesn't produce, you know, too much berries. And then I start to water with this fermented grass water. I start to ferment, to water them. And then whatever I use, like meat from the chicken and add a little bit blood, and then start to water, and then I have success. It's just from my experience. Yeah, there is no questions. And then I will show you, if you have no questions, I will tell you, if some of you started seeds at home, yeah? So when I start my seeds, you know what? It's so important. I have soaked my seed in the water or water them in the mushroom water. But I use like the wild mushroom that I wash my mushroom, wild mushrooms that I use, for example, for Rizdvo, for Christmas, right? I use the borscht for the mushroom or saute mushroom, but I have some mushroom from Ukraine. And then when I pre-soak them, I never throw the water or cook the mushroom. I always strain the water, put in a jar that water and put in the fridge. And I will keep when I start my February, March, you know, my tomato plants and other plants. So, and when they start to, I didn't actually, we can pre-soak, but when they start to show the life, like some leaves, and then I start to water this mushroom water, dilute it with the water. And mushroom, the tomato would never kind of be hit by any kind of disease. And as well, in the winter time, when I start some of them flowers, I start in February. Some plants start in February, even I start my time. So I always collect the snow, lots of snow, they melting, not much snow that you get from the, not much water from the snow. I collect the snow, melting. I don't kind of water with this tap water. I try to do something water from the nature. This is really helpful. And then the tomato or other plants have any kind of disease. So I plant my onion. It's not because I plant last week ago, I plant my onions. When I plant my onions, it's always have lots of these shoots, you know, these shots that this from the seeds, the middle one. And then this time I soak my onion in a salty water for half an hour and let it dry completely. And then plant, and I want to see if they have lots of these kind of shoots in the middle. Because I plant, you know, I don't know how many, kind of 200 onions, because we enjoy the green onion. So, if you have any questions, you know, and I plant as well, you know, the calendula. Calendula or marigolds, it's really big benefits for the plant. If you have seeds of calendula or marigolds growing close to the plant, don't pull it out, because it's really not only the beauty, but the butterfly coming. And you know, this is the best one, big benefits for the plant. So you can see they have no questions because you're really professional gardeners, right? You not really know, and you just want to know about the vegetables. So about the ground vegetables, I plant them when the new moon. How to know the new moon? Either you look on the calendar, you can find the calendar, or you can see the new moon coming. It's everywhere, even on the news, they mention it's new moon, that face to the to the east. And the full moon, now we're almost finishing the full moon up to next week, and then I plant my root vegetables. Why? Because the full moon, all the energy go back to the roots. And root vegetables, they like this energy to start it. And like my onion, my beets, and my carrots. And after June 10th, we have new moon. I still have sitting some my flowers, you know, snapdragon, daisy shasta that I grow from the sit in the containers. I can throw some seeds in the garden, the flower seeds, and so just above the grounds that, and I have success. I never had the failure with this one. Whatever I planting, but the people mentioned that they can plant in a different phase of the moon. That's fine too, because like, you know, the people can experience. It's up to you. And the same time, when I gather my root vegetables, that I gather them after the first frost. To let them not rotten vegetables, I always as well gather, I take them on a full moon. Because I mentioned on my potato rot and my vegetables, it has the big influence. That's from my experience. Yes, Slava.
Do you plant herbs? And do you use anything? For me, the worst thing to grow for me, or the hardest thing to grow for me, is basil. For some reason, it's very finicky, and I don't know if it's too cool here in Edmonton, but I have had very little success. This year I planted it with a tomato because I understand that their companion is with the tomato plant, but I'm still having difficulty.
Can you why you plant from the seeds, or you plant as a plant?
I plant as a plant.
I plant as a plant. I have tons of basil. I like the flat leaves basil. I like the Italian basil. These smaller leaves that we have at home. I never had failure. Okay, I will tell you, Slava. No, I have tons of basils as well. I love the basil. But I plant my basil that I start from the seeds in early March, very small one. So I have to start them much earlier, and I don't have the perfect condition, kind of greenhouse condition, but they are growing. Even when some leaves become a little bit white because either the cold or sun snap them. So, but they will growing. They still in a container that I plant by the tomatoes, or you plant in a different, you know, kind of spot. But at the same time, if you want to plant, I want to plant some herbs. I will be planting after June 10th. After June 10th.
Planted all my herbs. Okay.
I will plant them as well. My plants. I have some lemon thyme. Lemon thyme sometimes it's 4 zones, 5 zones, but it's still recovery again. And I can look at now at the garden and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad it's recovered. And because the thyme lies a little bit sandy and dry soil between the plants. So only the problem I had with the lilies. I had probably different variety of the lilies, such a beautiful one, different whatever you can find the variety, order through the online. But last fall, everything dig it up, the big patch of the lily. I can't fight anymore with these red bugs. I tried everything. You know, do you know with the kind of beetle with the red kind of shell? And they even some lilies here and there, when we digging out, because we expanded our garden, dig more, and we saw them because the shell kind of so like, it's like piece of metal crunching. That only that a problem. And we sprinkled, we did everything, and doesn't help. So we better to get rid of, because they're not only flying. When I work around my peony, they under the ground, probably 5 centimeters deeper, they live there. So they hide it. Only that problem that I have. But just because I will have as well my, how do you say this, basil, I will plant 2-3 different varieties of the basil, close to tomato or super close to the salad. They will like it, and then plant in a new moon. One thing, Slava, I like parsley. In a 2-3 years, I had that kind of not. I had parsley here and there, and when I buy the Hamburg parsley because when the roots left, I like to dry roots, and I plant my parsley around the roses. Sprinkle the parsley and chestnut garlic around the roses. 3 years in a row, I didn't dig my garlic around the roses. It's so big that Roman couldn't believe it, like my fist. The 3 years ago, I didn't dig. So, and my parsley like roses. When you have no place, sprinkle parsley in the roses. Parsley plant in a new moon under the Cancer or Scorpion. So, and you know what we always said? The parsley has to be visit 7 times hell and come back, to the soil, back to from the heaven to the land and sprout it. It's mean the parsley takes time to sprout it together. But this year, I planted parsley months ago, and now I can see it will be kind of lots of the parsley. And as well, parsley, why I had bad success? Because companion plants.
I have a question about Barvidok, periwinkle. Do you have that in the garden, and where is it best? I know it's a good plant for for a low spread, to a low cover, but where is the best place for Barvidok?
Yeah, I have all different kind of Barvinok in the beginning because I want to have everything in my small kind of plots. I have pink and white and blue and purple. The best is original blue Barvinok. I planted, they like to be a little bit shady area. If you don't have shade, if you have, for example, if you have peony, plant around the peony. They love it. They will say thank you. And Barvinok is very expensive. Little container for the little Barvinok in a cool mini costs $8-9. But don't worry, you can make a cut. When you make the cut now, put in the water, it won't grow. You can cut after new moon, after June 10th, and you can have your own spreading, Barvinok from the cutting. So even, yeah, from the cutting. But if you have any kind of bushes, because Barvinok likes to be shady, a little bit in the shade. Peony, they have peony. Most of them people have peony. Likes to be around that one. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us just for a minute or two? I know that you were responsible for the gardens in the Ukrainian Heritage Village, and do you plant that yourself, or do you have other workers that help you? And is it very traditional as to the 1920s of what is typical of their gardens there?
Okay, I will tell you, I will start from the sad story. For the 2 years in a row, we won't be planting gardens.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we don't plant the garden, we have less staff, and no, it's mentioned no. Under that, no, I said, okay, we have some staff, even to plant one garden plant, half beans, half potato, but this one, no, whatever suggestion you mentioned, no, it means no, that's fine too. So the traditional garden, they plant simple root vegetables and above the ground. The most of that beans, broad beans, carrots, beets, onion, potatoes, different type of peas, right? So, and very rarely corn. And when I started to work in the garden, because we didn't have some success of the garden, I started to do as well research, because when we have, okay, we said, for example, one family, Havrelak family, they have lots of, beans, lots of broad beans, lots of onion, lots of beets, but they have separate garden on a potato, separate garden on a cabbage. You see, they have much more room to move. There was no explanation when they plant about the companion plants. They have nothing like this. They just, whatever they planted, kept in a root cellar. It's a very general information that they kind of, that other specs have it.
All right. Dobrenko. We've almost done to the hour. So if you'd like to do some conclusion, or what would you like us to come away with? Proszę дуже, Lessia.
So I hope that, it's my English not perfect. I try to come because I made a plan, what to plan, how to plan, what to gather. But sometimes if you know your audience on the Zoom, a little bit harder. Even we had our meeting on the Zoom because I work lots of from home with the books, just revising the books. We lost our historian, he's retired, Radomir. And we have to prepare because he gave the courses in history. And we have very kind of challenging tasks, preparing the questions and specific information for our summer stuff. We are do training, so we are so busy in the village. But that means I will tell you one thing, that we don't have garden, that's fine. But at the same time, the pioneers planted the garden after May long weekend. They didn't know what is May long weekend because it's a different weather, and they have very successful crops. If I will plant before the new moon, my bees, because like we are busy, I'm going to babysit today, and Roman went to take pictures, and we haven't finished the landscaping yet before I plant my beets, because I plant different type of beets. I will be planting more beets than carrots. Even I have lots of carrots because I like fermenting beets, like not the pickled beets, fermenting beets with no salt. It's so good when you try once fermenting beets with the water and beets, you will like it. You know why? You didn't like to start to drink, but you like it because your body will scream for that. And my Roman mentioned that's it. We have to do all the time fermented beets, just water and beets. So why I want to plant more beets, different. I talked to my dad. My dad kind of, all this match. Oh, we have fermented beets, water and beets. And because it kick the energy, boost immune system, the blood increase. It's just, amazing how many benefits, but it's another topic. So even it's a late, it's a June, my beets will grow. That always have a hope.
My mother-in-law always had kvass from the beets, and that was used to make borscht.
That's fine, but no salt, no vinegar, no salt.
No salt, no vinegar. It was just beets, and it was with a rye bread or a piece of bread on top, and that was it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
it's the dill seeds. If you have lots of dill seeds, never throw it away. With this, to have the very good dill seeds, I just mentioned you have to grow, plant very early in the spring or sprinkle in August, September. You will have dill when you plant this one. But I hope that it will turn into seeds, but it depends what kind of weather. So even you don't have fresh dill, throw the little bit teaspoon of seeds in the soup. It's good for your digestion, for everything. Even the seeds of dill very much more powerful. I like to put the dill seeds even in my cabbage,
Oh.
So, and I really, if you understand or something like was not smooth, I really apologize, but this is the simple information. You can use it. And what else can I say? Wish you good luck.
Дуже дякую тобі, Лесю, за це. I know this is a different format, and we're all learning with COVID, but it looks like we're coming to the end. So possibly in the future or in the fall, we'll be able to have something in person as well, possibly recorded, so that we'll have both. And we can continue about harvesting and and how to produce your seeds. So дуже дякую тобі знову, Лесю. Це було дуже приємно. I really felt like it was a cup of coffee and a nice conversation in your kitchen and a nice tour. Oh my goodness, that is a huge garden. So я тобі дуже дякую знову.
I just wish you good luck with the gardening. All the best and God bless you.
Дякую дуже. Thank you. На все добре. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.